Hello, you all. I welcome you all in this discussion session from the Fastmind. We have here NCERT discussion for Class 10 Science, and yes, the very first chapter, that is chemical reactions and equations. You all know in the NCERT, very elaborated discussion is given, and now I'm just moving forward with the topics of the chapter. So have a look on the content covered over here. If you look at here, you'll see that in this particular chapter, we have first of all the discussion of chemical changes. Yet you need to know about the chemical changes. You need to know about the chemical reaction, chemical equation. Further, we'll deal with the balancing of chemical equation. Then we have chemical reaction and its types. What are the major types? We have combination reaction, decomposition reaction, displacement and the double displacement. And one more thing for your information, along with that, we definitely discuss with exothermic reaction, endothermic reaction, precipitation one, and the neutralization in the continuation. Further, oxidation and reduction, and that further deals with corrosion and rancidity. So the whole content is given over the board. You can clearly see. Let me start with the very first point, that is chemical change. In your NCERT book, we have the several examples for the chemical changes given here. If you look at the very first example, you will be able to see here, just let me change the page. See, we have here the milk that is left over for some time at the room temperature. What will happen to it? Just think of it. What will happen? Yes, my dear students, basically if you leave milk at room temperature, it will change into some curd-like substance. So what type of change it is? Is it the physical change or a chemical change? You might be knowing that the physical change is not forming a new substance. So I'm just writing here that what that physical change is. I'll just write over here that this physical change that results in there is no new substance as the product. Right? So what's the clear difference between physical and the chemical change? The difference is formation of a new substance. In physical change, no new substance is formed, while in a chemical change, definitely a new substance will be formed. Now, the next thing, a lot of example that's given in the NCERT, as I've already told you, that first was milk that's left at room temperature during summers. Due to high heat, milk gets changed into curd-like substance. That is basically denaturation of milk. Sometimes you would not be able to eat that milk because taste gets denatured, odor gets denatured, it will not be available for eating further. An iron tawa or the pan or the nail that is left exposed to humid atmosphere. What happened here? You know, in this case, there is rusting process that takes place. You know that what happens in rusting? A brown colored coating gets developed over the surface. And yes, tawa, the pan, the nail, these all are made up of iron. So rusting is the property of iron, and that results in the denaturation of the iron surface. Very simple to know. Very simple to know that this is the process of rusting that I'm just marking over here. The second process is rusting. Let me proceed further with the next example, that grapes get fermented. What happens to the grapes? When grapes get fermented, the sugar present in the grapes get changed. Once again, the chemical change. And that change is also not reversible. What does it mean? Not reversible means you cannot get back the previous substance. Further, food is cooked. If food is cooked, there is chemical change, not a physical change, because there is the formation of the new substance in the presence of heat or the temperature that you're providing. Food gets digested in your body. What happens to it? The food that you eat gets changed into the new substance, the smaller substances in your alimentary canal. Do you know alimentary canal? The digestive system include that your intestine, your stomach, all of are the parts of digestive system, and food get digested over there. There's a formation of a new substance that you need to know. We respire. What happens when we respire? When we respire, we produce energy. From where this energy comes from? This energy comes from the food. So that process of respiration is also a chemical change. My dear students, I hope you understood what I'm trying to say here. I just want to tell you a few changes are there which results into the formation of a new substance. That is the chemical change. A few changes are there in which no new substance is formed, and that's why those changes are physical changes. Now, how in chemistry we represent the chemical change? Just to say chemical change, or is there any term which we use here? Yes, we represent chemical change by the term that is chemical reaction, right? The name of the chapter. But before moving forward, an activity that's given in the NCERT, you might be knowing about it. This is the activity that is given in NCERT. So what I'm writing here is activity that's given in NCERT. You can clearly see we have a burner, and what we are burning over here, we have the magnesium ribbon. You can clearly see, let me just mark the underline here. Let me just mark over here. Wait a second. There is the next thing that we need to consider is the magnesium ribbon. This is burnt in the presence of oxygen. What will happen? Magnesium is burnt. The formation of magnesium oxide occurs. This is basically white colored ashes. White ashes are formed. Is this the physical change or the chemical change? Just think of it. Yes, it is chemical change because a new substance is formed. And what's that new substance? That is magnesium oxide. I have another example for you here. So what you need to do, you need to just look at the given diagrammatic representation. Let me just mark over here. I need to just turn the page. Let me just turn the page over here. Right, another activity. Chemical change, once again it's written. Here you have this triangular pot. What it is? This is conical flask basically, conical flask. Inside that you have dilute sulfuric acid that is filled there in the form of liquid, and zinc granules you have added. You can clearly see granules are present here. Over those granules, what you have added? Already I've told you this is dilute sulfuric acid. What happens? In the diagram, it's clearly shown this is hydrogen gas. Yes, the reaction occurs. Zinc reacted with sulfuric acid. There's a formation of hydrogen gas. So how do we represent this chemical change? We represent the going on chemical change with the help of the chemical reaction. Yes, you all are right that I'm just going to move towards the next part, that is just representing this chemical change. Let me move forward. Chemical reaction, what it is? The chemical reaction is basically a type of process. This is process in which a reactant, the important thing, a reactant molecule converts into a new substance. That substance is now termed as product. So important terms are there. One is the reactant, other is the product. How product is formed? Product is formed by the chemical reaction, and basically this reactant gets changed into the product. That product has entirely new properties. The point to remember, entirely new properties. So we simply define this process of chemical reaction as the process in which the bonds of reactant molecules are broken, and that's followed by the formation of new bonds, and that formation of the new bond results in the formation of a new substance. Easy to define, just learn the definition, because in the board exam and even the school exam, questions like that can be asked, that what is chemical reaction? What are the examples? How do we represent it? Next question, how we analyze that a particular chemical change or the chemical reaction is taking place? Definitely with the help of observations. I have the observations which are clearly given in NCERT book. Change in state, change in color, as well as evolution of some gas. Let me just mark over here that what I am trying to say. First of all, change in state. Suppose a substance is there in the solid state, and after that change, it gets changed into liquid state. That is a chemical change. Next is color change. Color can also be changed in a chemical reaction. Further, evolution of a gas. Like in the previous example, that was the activity of the NCERT. Let me just turn the page. Have a look over here. You can clearly see hydrogen gas is evolved in this particular activity. Have a look. Which gas is released? Hydrogen gas. It means the evolution of gas is also a sign of a chemical change. So that's why evolution of gas is also classified in the same ways as the observation of chemical reaction. Change in temperature. After a chemical change, there might be the change in temperature also. Whether the temperature can be raised, temperature can be lowered. Suppose a reaction is taking place at room temperature, nearly at 25 degrees Celsius. After the change, temperature also gets changed to 50 degrees Celsius. You can easily identify there might be some chemical reaction. So these are basically the observation, those you observe during a chemical reaction. Further question arises, is there any way to represent a chemical reaction? Yes, definitely. There is a way to represent chemical reaction, and that is basically nothing but the chemical equation. As the chapter name is also suggesting, chemical reaction and equations. Reactions are represented by chemical equation. Don't worry, my dear students. You don't need to worry. Simple thing is that chemical equations are the representation of chemical reactions. Let me show you the definition for the chemical equation also. Right? Have a look on the definition. The symbolic representation. What's it? This is symbolic representation. I'm just marking. Of a chemical reaction in which the reactants are present at the left-hand side while the products are placed at the right-hand side of the arrow. Where this arrow is, this is the arrow. What it is representing? It is representing combination of magnesium with oxygen, and there's a formation of magnesium oxide. In class 9th, you have already studied about the symbols of the elements. Magnesium has the symbol Mg. What about oxygen? Right, it is O2. And what happens when these two combine? There's the formation of a new substance, white-colored ashes, in the activity we have seen, magnesium oxide. That is formed there. So every time you cannot write the complete name of magnesium, complete name of oxygen, complete name of magnesium oxide. Rather, we use the symbols. So chemical equation is nothing but the symbolic representation of the chemical reaction. Reactant gets changed into the product. Finally, the symbolic representation is termed as chemical equation. I hope it is clear for all of you to understand. This is a very simple definition for the chemical equation. What happens here? Symbolic representation to represent a chemical reaction, where reactants are always placed at the left-hand side. So I need to write this box is representing reactant. Reactant is formed here.